Hello YouTubers and welcome to my long-awaited review of The Dark Knight. This has been a review which has been in the making for quite a long time. So let's crack on. This is a sequel to 2005's Batman Begins, and it follows on from that story. That story was all about the origins of how Bruce Wayne became Batman. And in this one, we see his story continue. We see a few of the characters from the first film come back, and all of their stories are developed as well. It's pretty much what you would expect from a sequel. And a lot of people say that The Dark Knight is better than Batman Begins. Do I think so? Actually, yeah, I probably would say that The Dark Knight is better than Batman Begins. Quite predictable, really, of an answer. You're probably expecting something rather different from me to say that The Dark Knight is an absolutely abysmal film. But fear not, this is a positive review of a really good movie. Because, yeah, The Dark Knight, it's one of the greatest sequels of all time, isn't it? As much as I really like Batman Begins and everything, with Liam Neeson in there and all of that, I think that The Dark Knight really does well and it expands on that story, and it probably is a sequel which is better than the first film. And I think the main reason for that is due to the story, and it is due to a certain character that appears in this film, and it is none other than the Joker, who is played by Heath Ledger. Of course, the film at the time when it was released 10 years ago was overshadowed by the fact that Heath Ledger had just passed away before it was released, so this was a posthumous release. And I can remember that a lot of people were really against his casting as a Joker, saying that he was going to be an absolute flop, he was going to be absolutely awful. Of course, the rest is history. A lot of people see his Joker as really iconic. Some people say that he is the best version that we've ever had of the Joker. So he proved everyone wrong, and there's even more significance to it, and it's quite eerie watching his performance, even back in 2008, knowing that the actor had just passed away before that this was released. I'm glad that he proved everyone wrong, because it goes for a lot of cases. Another example being Daniel Craig cast as James Bond. The amount of backlash that was aimed towards him when he was cast as James Bond was unbelievable. Now, many people regard him as probably the greatest Bond that there's ever been so far. So I think that goes similar for this version of the Joker, because quite honestly, Heath Ledger, he does an absolutely amazing job. I can't fault his performance whatsoever. Like, everything he does, like that, he licks his lips a lot in this film, and apparently it was due to behind the scenes he had skin irritation from all the makeup that he was wearing. So I quite like that the director decided to keep all of that in, because that actually was Heath Ledger um, licking his lips because of all of that. Another big player in this film who gets introduced in this film is Aaron Eckhart, and he plays Harvey Dent, who a lot of comic book fans will also know as Two-Face, and in this film he becomes Two-Face towards the end of the film. And yeah, once again, one of the best things about this film is Aaron Eckhart. To be honest, I don't know why I'm really singling out all of these actors. I mean, I have to single out Heath Ledger because he easily steals this film, of course. But the whole cast as a whole is absolutely fantastic. I can't fault it whatsoever. And the story overall, I mean, it's been said before. Many reviewers have said this about this film, and my views aren't really that different, to be honest. This is probably perfect. It's probably a perfect film, this. as far as I'm concerned. This set the tone for modern superhero films. We had quite a few before this in the form of Spider-Man. Obviously, we had Batman Begins. But this one, when this came out, this shit really hit the fan. This was mind-blowing at the time because it was gritty, and what Christopher Nolan did with these characters in this film, he just went beyond all of our expectations. Because yeah, I knew that this was going to be a good film, full stop, because I knew that it was in good hands. Batman Begins was a really good film. It was a return to form after the disappointment which was Batman and Robin, which is absolute crap. And this was just amazing. This is everything that I wanted. I thought that Heath Ledger's Joker, again, was absolutely outstanding. And there's just some knockout performances. Again, I really like Christian Bale as Batman. He's just amazing. He delves further into the role of Bruce Wayne and Batman. And again, you see both sides to his life, and especially towards the end of the film, there's a few things that change. Of course, the big twist in this film is that the love interest in this film, Rachel, gets killed, but thanks to the Joker, and that results in Two-Face and all of that. Batman has to choose between her and Two-Face, so he and the cops split up. The cops go and try to save one, and Batman tries to save the other. One dies, one survives, but at a cost, because the one who survives is Harvey Dent, and as a result, he ends up getting injured in the process, and hence why all of his face is basically messed up. Well, half of it anyway. It was a really big twist at the time, like when Rachel was just suddenly killed off, because I had no idea that that was going to happen at all. If you would have told me that she was going to die, then I would have just been like, nah, they won't do that. But hats off to them, they did that. Of course, in this film, that character is played by a different actor, because Katie Holmes didn't come back to reprise her role for this, so instead they got Maggie Gyllenhaal to take over, and she did a really good job. She didn't imitate Katie Holmes, but she did her own thing, and it worked for the most part. For most of the film, though, she's with Harvey Dent, because her and Harvey Dent are basically an item. It's not what you would expect where she would get with Bruce Wayne, because that is what I did expect after seeing Batman Begins, but they didn't go that path, which I suppose is a good thing, because it's always predictable when they have some sort of love story, and as we know in superhero films, they don't quite work out. So it's really good how they did that twist where they actually did kill her off, because I think that was a really big turning point for not only this film, but for this trilogy as well. It just goes without saying, the cinematography for this is amazing, because it's Christopher Nolan. Nolan has become, in the last few years, one of my favourite directors. He's definitely one of the best directors around right now, because some of his films, what he've done, like this film, all of the Dark Knight films, all the films that he's done before that and since, he's done an absolutely amazing job. And of course, I can't forget Hans Zimmer's score for this. Oh my god, this is one of the best scores that has ever been done in cinema history, hands down. But again, it goes without saying, because Hans Zimmer is probably my second favourite music composer for films, just behind the man, the legend that is John Williams. The theme for the Joker in this is just amazing. Every time you hear it, you think shit's gonna go down, and of course a lot of shit does go down in this film. It's not what you expect. You think that something has been resolved halfway through the film, and then something else gets blown up in your face, and you're thinking, oh shit. I didn't expect that to happen. So after you're done with this review, watch The Dark Knight. I just cannot remember.
What the fuck is that?
It is that good. It's definitely one of the greatest superhero films ever made. I'm not sure if it is my favourite superhero film, full stop. I probably will have to make a list for that in the future, what my favourite films are and what are not my favourite films. It's probably a while off yet, but you can expect that sometime in the future. But yeah, this, it really ranks up high, and it is one of the very few films where the sequel is definitely superior to the original. It's happened very, very few times in cinema history, because usually a sequel has come out, it's decent, or the sequel's come out and it's absolutely dreadful. But yeah, top marks from me. This gets a 10 out of 10 from me. It really does. It's one of not only the greatest comic book movies out there, but I probably would say one of the greatest movies, full stop, because it reinvented the superhero genre, and it was from when this was released, everything sort of changed really, and it's ever since this has come out, the whole superhero genre has become bigger and bigger. I probably would say the same thing after when Spider-Man came out a few years earlier to this. But I think with this is more of a darker film. This is Batman, and the way that it is done, the way it's directed, the way that Nolan does it with all of these characters, especially the way that the Joker is done, is more like an adult version. And I probably would say that Heath Ledger's version of this character is probably the definitive live action version of the Joker, because his performance is like one of the greatest performances ever. I mean, he won the Oscar for it. How many superhero films have won Oscars for acting? So it just goes to show that it is a testament to his acting ability. It was just such a shame that we never got to see him ever again in this role. This was his greatest role ever, and unfortunately he never got to see all the praise that he got after this was released, because he passed away before this came out. But that's one of the stories that will go down in cinema history, I'm pretty sure. So thank you very much for watching anyway of this review of The Dark Knight. Pretty predictable from me, but to be honest, it goes without saying, yeah, this film is just... And if you've not seen it, then what are you doing? Go out and see it, and all I can say is, until next time everybody, have a very nice day, and bye for now.